Hey, so at the start of my Instagram and everything for my garden, I was at a different location. I was renting and the situation was different. I had no trees, no shade, no anything. I've gotten a lot of followers since then, and I want to kind of go over why my tag or my name is I Can Grow in That. So, the name is I Can Grow in That. I made it because I was renting and I needed to have a container garden. I'm very cheap. I'm retired, and so my income is pretty much the same. And I wanted to grow. I wanted to grow my own food. I wanted something to do with my time. And I remember starting gardening in San Diego, doing broccoli and tomatoes and things like that, and I absolutely loved it. Now I'm in Arkansas, and I just wanted to grow. All three locations I'm renting at. This one I'm actually going to buy. I just have to wait for some veteran stuff to go through so I can get it tax free, and then I'm going to buy. But I am sticking to the I Can Grow in That. Every time I see something, anything that's pink or pretty or like anything, I'm just like, I bet I could put flowers in that. I bet I could grow something in that. I bet, how much soil does that have? I bet I can drill holes in that and just grow something in it. I love cheap stuff, and I really hate weeding the garden. And that is probably one, I think, is the greatest kind of thing about those. The number one of why container garden is you don't have to pull weeds. So yeah, when I got here, they had tomatoes, cucumbers along this trellis, and then okra. And that okra was prolific, let me tell you. And I don't even like okra, but I shared with my neighbors. So this is about, there's a few in-ground areas, this being one. That one I call the rock garden area, and then I put it in ground neighborhood salad bar up there, and I will show you guys that. But we're gonna get into all the different things that I can grow in. Here we go. So for starters, since we're here, I can grow in the ground. There's a ton of leaves. Underneath the leaves you'll see straw hay or straw for just mulch, and then as I was raking leaves today, I just used more leaves for the mulch, and hopefully I'll keep the weeds down. In here I have broccoli, cabbage, sapphire squash, and these are super awesome. Now let's go to the next thing I grow in. Tires. Tires are one of my favorite things to grow root vegetables in. They fill up the landfills. They can't really burn them. It's bad for the ozone, so they just kind of fill them up. I make them pretty by just spray painting them. I use the Rust-Oleum Bonds to plastic, and these have lasted me a couple years, and they're great. I have sweet potatoes in it right now. Ooh, these nails are ugly. And I will do carrots. I've grown potatoes in them before and had a great success. I love it. You can put weed barrier at the bottom, just that weed fabric. Perfect. There's pots, like nursery pots. If you can tell, I really like color, and anything that's not colorful, I will make colorful. Now, I don't know how bad the ozone is because of all my spray painting, but pots. There's some more tires. 5-gallon buckets. The cheapest way to get a 5-gallon bucket is going to a restaurant. A restaurant will have food grade 5-gallon buckets. So this place I used to go to, I go to the Catfish Hole, and they just have them, I mean, just stacked up by the dumpster. But I call and ask if I can come get them, and they always say yes. They have handles. It's perfect. You can grow a tomato in there. You can grow like 2 peppers in there, maybe even more. You can grow lettuce. There's a lot of things you can grow in just 5 gallons of soil, especially if you put a lot of compost in there. All right, we'll go over here. These are pallets. This pallet and the one at the end, if you can see, it's 2 pallets together. The bottom pallet has all its boards at the bottom, and it's open at the top. This top pallet, I took the boards from underneath and so I call these my double deep pallets. And things grow way better when they're that deep instead of just that much soil. But flowers going great in these as well. I just put raised bed mix or potting mix in here. I usually mix my own potting mix with a mix of perlite, peat moss, compost, and sand and things like that. There's tons of recipes you can find online. So in these double deep pallets right now, I have arugula, I have basil, I've got chard, another chard, and I think this would be a good way to do square foot gardening as well, because it's kind of, already in the squares, and mine are doing great. Now this one is a shallow one. I try to put flowers and wildflowers and such in here. There's a Dusty Miller, and they are doing absolutely great in just this amount of soil, however many inches that is. And then again, I have basil and lettuce and things, and even strawberry in here, these double deep pallets. Now here's one of my really neat ones. I found this on Facebook Marketplace. I think it used to hold 8 tracts or postcards or something. It needs some WD-40. But I saw it and I was like, oh my gosh, I could put plants in there. Like, I just saw it. It didn't have any pots or anything in it. It was just bare. And this is what I saw that I could do with it. And it's just amazing when I'm very artistic and crafty, so I like imagining things and bringing it to life. And I absolutely love this. I call it my salad carousel. It holds 32 pots, and I was lucky enough that Dollar Tree had pots that fit perfectly in here and that were deep enough to grow things, because even at $1 a piece, it's $32 just for the pots. Like, could you imagine even if they were just like 5? Like, no ma'am, can't do that. And I got these from the Dollar Tree too, or yes, Dollar Tree, where everything's a dollar. And then we have some more 5-gallon buckets up here. I'm actually gonna try to get these through winter. So they're in these 5-gallon buckets. I'm gonna bring them in. On to the next thing I grow in. And here is the in-ground garden. There's a tree in the corner and it's got these rocks. They definitely need to be cemented down. It will be a project for the spring for sure. Okay, so when I came to this house, it was much different than my other place. My other place had no trees, and I actually had to buy a shade cloth and try to start building it before I end up having to move. But where I place my things now compared to the other places, like really precise. I have to really think about it because it is on a slope, and I just have to be really picky of where I am, how good the soil is. This is not a ton of creek rock underneath, how much sun it gets, all that. So it can be a drag sometimes. So over here I built these bucket stands. They're called the 5-gallon bucket stands. I saw it on Pinterest and they have plans for it and everything, and I followed those. I made one when I was at the other house. When I came here, I realized I would need more, so I made 2 more. They hold 8 buckets each, so 8 times 3 is 24, and 24 buckets, and that is a lot of plants. It was, up until a few weeks ago, this was all tomatoes. Like I had over 45 tomato plants. It was insane, but it's awesome. And there are still some that I just could not let go of. And this is a great space saving thing for 5-gallon buckets. This one's got the last of the warm season stuff that I'm trying to get through, as long as the weather will allow. This one holds all the root vegetables, carrots, potatoes. This one has a Dancing with Smurfs still. There's dahlias in these pots, and then these are all cabbage. And I think they're all cabbage. I don't think any of these are broccoli. I think they're all cabbage. And there's a Brussels sprout. Now here's another thing I love to grow in, apple buckets. I don't know if it's like the vintage look or whatever it is, but these are going to be some edible wildflowers called bachelor buttons or cornflowers. Absolutely gorgeous. They're cold tolerant, and they're going to be really tall and blue. There will probably be some other ones, but they'll definitely be blue ones. So apple buckets, another thing I grow in. And you know I love some pallets. Anytime someone's giving away free pallets, I go pick them up. I have a stack of them, so anytime I'm doing any project, I always have a ton. I bought these hanging pots, probably on Facebook Marketplace. Someone was selling them, and this palette was kind of and I did it yellow, so I did this whole setup with it. Just put some nails or some screws through there, mounted these, put some pansies and dianthus, some really hardy, easy to care for flowers in there. And then I have to touch up this bike with some mulch and such, but I've got this on here. I also grow in a bike, so in this one there's 2, and I can't wait for those pansies to start to fill out. I did this area and just replanted all this last week, so this is how it is so far. All right, let's go to the next one. Another thing about my garden that I will let you know is that I love to share with my neighbors. As soon as everything gets kicking and going, I like to post on the Nextdoor app and let people know they can come and pick food, or I have extra produce and things like that. So this little area is the wildflowers, that spring bulb area. There's daffodils, tulips, and every hyacinth are gonna be popping up here, but for right now, these are wildflowers. There's sweet alyssum, some clover, flatullar buttons, cosmos if they make it. There's a gladius popping up pretty early, but there's that. And I love it. And I remember I was explaining this to a family member, and I was like, oh, I have my garden out front and blah blah. I was like, why would you put that pretty stuff out front? Someone will steal it. And I'm like, but it's not stealing. Like, I want people to come. Look at all these bees on these basil. I'm sorry, it's so distracting me. Oh, those are honeybees. That's a honeybee. Hi. Okay. Side note, I love letting things like this go to flower in my broccoli and things like that. There'll probably be a couple broccoli and cabbages I'll let go to flower, because the bees and stuff, they just love when the things go to flower. It's entertaining. So anyway, I was like, it wouldn't be stealing. Like, I want to grow this stuff. Like, I have all this time. It brings me so much joy, and I just want to be able to share it and things like that. I feel like if I have a good harvest, I'll try to see if there's any like high risk people in my area, and I can like deliver produce for them. Because like lettuce, I know lettuce is like one of those things you have to go to the store for like every other day, because it really doesn't last that long, especially from the store and stuff. So anyways, and of course the kiddie pools. I've just been dancing around these things. I love these. In the springtime, I planted the dwarf tomato plants. Only got about 16 to 10 inches tall, 10 to 16 inches tall, and things like that. And I had some radishes in here that did well. The basil's doing great. Marigold's taking over, and I've kind of transplanted all of the strawberries over into these, and I might just make these full of strawberries next year. And I got this idea from Roots of Refuge on one of her older videos. And here we are over here. I'm growing peanuts, this 8-ball squash or 8-ball zucchini, and the lemon summer squash. But these are pallets. These are some longer pallets. They're about 5 by 5 feet by something, and I have 2 of them as well. So it's 2 of them stacked up. One, the board that's on top, the bottom board's missing, so it's just extra deep. I've grown tomatoes successfully in here. These are my tomatoes, my sun sugars. If you have been following me, you know these are my favorite. I refuse to let them go because they refuse to let go, and I will just keep propping stuff up around them. I mean, you find them on the floor, they're just always so delicious. They're so good. They're so citrusy. Okay, anyways, I don't know why I eat when I do videos. You can't talk and eat. So pallets, we already went over these, but I just want to show you guys again tenfold that pallets are the bomb to grow in. They're usually cheap. Get heat treated pallets, not chemically treated. They will have a stamp that says HT, stands for heat treated. That's fine. I wouldn't suggest getting chemically treated because I mean, who knows what those chemicals are for, what they were holding, and things like that. You just don't want your food absorbing that. A friend of mine bought this house and it had this terrible, barely standing fence. And he said if I help him take down the fence, he'll help me make planters out of the boards for my birthday. So I was like, sweet, let's do it. And I made these basically free. All I did was get some primer stuff to put on it to make them like waterproof so they'll last a few years and not get rotted or anything. I have a ton of peppers successfully growing in here, onions, and I have some Brussels sprouts coming up. I'm hoping the Brussels sprouts will take off once I rip all the peppers up, but I'm gonna let those peppers finish changing color before it gets cold. Here we are again with the tire. This is the tricolor tire. No, it's 4 colors because it's got that light green and then the blue and then the pink and then the yellow. It's all those colors because I was out, like that's all that was left basically. It was like a little bit in a lot of different colors, so I was just like whatever, and bam, creativity. I have spinach in these that I built. All 3 of these, I call these the waist high planters, and they're awesome because they really are waist high, like perfect. I don't have to bend over working in these, picking from these, doing anything in these is so easy, except removing them when they're full because that wood is solid. Like these posts are solid, like it's not metal, it is solid. So I hope to have these for years and years and years to come. This is probably my favorite part of the garden right now. It is my little fall area. I was encouraging people to take pictures here. I did not pass out candy, but I wanted people to come and have a nice little area to take pictures with. I bought tons of cool pumpkins. Some of these are starting to rot, so it's about time to cut them up and save the seeds so I can grow my own fancy schmancy pumpkins. But over here, I have some crops. I have mums. Like mums are everywhere. Dusty Miller, those lasagnas. I snuck in some purple cabbage. I have some zinnias, and I rent, but I do have a cut flower garden. A lot of it is in nursery pots, but that is, you guys, it's amazing. So here's some more growing in tires, and then I also grow in fabric pots. Now, these didn't do very well because I didn't recompost them or anything. I was just kind of having stuff grow up for decoration, really. But I need to go through them in, put some blood and bone meal, tons of compost and things like that. But this spring, I successfully grew corn in these things. I think these are 10-gallon fabric pots. They come in 20-gallon, 3-gallon, 5-gallon, all kinds. They are great. They're supposed to help in all these different ways, and I have quite a few, so that is another thing I grow in. And if you can see, this is one of my fancy pumpkins, and it's growing out of the yellow tire right here. I think it's pretty sweet. So that being said, that's just about everything I grow in. I have some little odds and ends, little windowsill boxes and things like that I like to grow lettuce in. But I'm a renter. I'm a beginner. I didn't have parents with a farm. I grew up on food stamps, and this isn't really a business for me. I don't care to make money. I give my stuff to my neighbors. I might go to a farmer's market one day with my bouquets. But I just want to encourage people to grow their own food because we really don't know what we're eating. And it's such a joy just to get out here. It's literally therapy for me. And just because you're renting does not mean you can't grow stuff. And just because you live in the city, like there's ways around it. And I just want to encourage people to do that. And that's all. I just want to share my joy and anyways, just my joys and experiences. I have a pretty unique piece of land now, especially since I have a creek, which is wild because you guys have seen the neighborhood. I mean, it's a regular neighborhood. That's all I want to do, guys. I just want to make friends, and I spend all my time at home, and I just kind of make it my sanctuary and a good place to be. Ooh, spider on me. And that's really all. Do your research. It's out there. All you have to do is like, what can grow in a 5-gallon bucket? It'll say 3 of this, 1 of these, blah, blah, blah. How to make your own soil, hashtag urban gardening, things like that. Like, it's out there. The information's out there. And I will try to share as much as I do with you guys to try to encourage you. Jalapenos, banana pepper, pepper, and some flowers to make a bouquet for my neighbor.